Hey y'all, welcome to the Athlete's Health Deep Dive, the weekly episode where we get a mental performance theme of the week, dive deep into its insights through some tips, tricks to remember it, tools to apply it, and the goal here is to just bring more value to the audience, the athletes, the coaches, the parents, anyone, giving you a glimpse into some themes and topics surrounding mental performance in these longer conversations and what some conversations in our coaching entails. Ultimately, though, aiming to help you out, get you using these tricks, adding these tools to your tool belt, your bag, and up that mental performance. At the end, maybe you're intrigued to check out our mental gym, check out some of our services. But each week we have a theme. And this week's theme is dealing with distractions, the strategies to maintain focus when we have all these distractions around us. So without further ado, let's dive deep into dealing with distractions. And first off, I gotta point out, if you're watching this, new studio, been working on some stuff, trying to up everything. So spread the message, spread the word of the athlete's health. Things are going to be evolving here pretty fast. So we're trying to make it the best it can be. That is why distractions are so important for me right now in these instances. For instance, I want to give a quick little pre-framed story before we go into the 5 tips, tricks, and tools. Distractions really do seem to sneak up on us like shadows, okay? We don't even realize, or ghosts, Halloween, but we don't even realize that they're there until all of a sudden our energy is drained. We're feeling busy, but we haven't accomplished anything. Our results, our times, our percentages aren't increasing at all. So sometimes these distractions are just totally invisible, but their effect, what's happening, is utmost clear. Sometimes they stretch us thin, making it difficult to actually put our focus on what we're trying to do and give our best for that result. Now, as athletes, as we're performing, these distractions that we're talking about can be the biggest enemy. So to perform at our peak, to have peak performance, whether it is in the field, on the field, in training, in life, where all these tie together, we must learn to stay locked in and keep the distractions at bay, away. So in today's deep dive, we're going to look at some powerful strategies to maintain focus with all those distractions around us. Tip number 1 is identify the invisible distractions. Like I said, some distractions are easy to spot and some aren't. So some that are easy to spot, think about your phone buzzing. Think about just background noise all around you. Think about all those social media notifications. These distractions, we at least know they're there. Other distractions, like the ones we don't notice, are dangerous. Those are the harder ones. Now, these invisible distractions pull us in every direction, making our productivity, our performance, what we're working towards, not good. It makes us feel like it's working, but it's just actually stretching us super thin. The trick here is the one goal lock-in. Gotta lock in on one goal. You can't win the game if you don't score that first goal, because then at most it's going to be a tie 0-0. So we have to get the one goal locked in. What we can do for this, the tools are each day identify the one thing you can accomplish that will truly move the needle. That one thing that is going to get you going the most amount, just even the littlest amount. And then we can eliminate all those non-essential tasks that don't contribute to that single focus, right? Maybe it's at practice, you are strictly going to be focusing on the dribbling. You'll still have to do all the other dribbles with everyone else, but on that dribbling drill or the multiple dribbling drills, you're going to make sure you're locked in on it. And what another example of this is, just kind of for like a story sake, of a lot of athletes try to balance multiple training regimens to max out their performance. Now, I'm not really talking about like cross country in the spring or in the fall, and then more track, mid distance, sprint in the spring. That's okay. I'm talking about they're trying every little thing to make their performance better, but they're actually just jumping from one to the next, and they're just all around the map. They're not actually honing in, focusing on that one clear goal. So then they're ending up burning out. They're achieving less in every area because they're just trying it all out instead of focusing on the individual one goal that they could do, that one training aspect. Whatever you're training on, get that one goal locked in. For tip number 1, identify the invisible distractions. Know there's going to be the other things around you, other people around you, but lock in on the one goal. So all those other distractions, especially the invisible ones, hopefully aren't there as much. Tip number 2, embrace beneficial distractions. But Gabe, we just said no distractions. Not quite. Beneficial distractions are good because sometimes distractions aren't bad at all. They're actually really good. Just like a muscle needs rest between sets to recover if you're in the weight room, and even if you're doing HIIT intervals, you're taking breaks because those muscles need the rest. Our brain, our performance, we need some small strategically placed breaks so we don't get to that burnout place, so we avoid the burnout. If we step back for a brief period, it can really help recharge our battery, get the process of information going, move ourselves along the line better. It does not have to just be go, 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 go. That's when we can have some of these beneficial distractions. Trick here is the rest and restore break. So let's say we were working out for 90 minutes. We had a 90-minute practice. Or maybe as a student athlete, we're talking about the student side and we're putting in a 90-minute study break because we want that long block of time so we can get in our zone. Future topic, touch on the zone, some in the past, but back to distractions. We'll get on the zone at a different time. But after the 90 minutes of focused work, whatever that may be, we can take that 5 to 10 minute mental pause away from the work, away from the studying the film, of the actual work, physical work, of the studying the notes, whatever the case is. And instead, we can engage in a different activity, get in a different environment to really get recharged. So what I mean by this, okay, it's not necessarily just going to our phone and scrolling through the social media. What it could be is reflecting now a little bit. It could be going for a quick walk, a quick stretch, something that gets that blood moving a little bit. Those are some great instances where we can do this use the trick of the rest and restore break. And just for another point, if we are in the college space, if we're not in the college space yet, or if we just want to model some of those college athletes we see, or in the pros, they know that they are not training 24/7. Okay. They understand this. They are preached that you cannot be doing this all the time. So in off seasons or between intense sessions, their athletes are taking time to recover mentally and physically. And then that ultimately enhances their long-term performance, right? If we're trying to level up to the best we can be, and one marker of performance or value is money, right? US dollar. And who makes the most money? I would say it's definitely some NBA pros, NFL pros. It's the people who are at the top. Now, what do they do and how can we model it? Well, I promise you, they're not training 24/7. They take those breaks. In the off season, they travel to certain areas that are calming for them. Those are the tip number 2, beneficial distractions that they're embracing with the trick of the rest and restore break. Have those tools. If you're working for 90 minutes, take a 5 to 10 minute break. Get yourself moving, stretching, something that gets us in a new groove, and then we can restore, get right back in the zone. Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Athlete's Health Podcast. Your support really does mean a lot. We are passionate about bringing the mental health and performance topics to the forefront because, let's be real, the mental health crisis is a huge issue in society. Now, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to us if you could just give it a 5-star review and share it with anyone who might benefit this message. Every bit helps in spreading the word and creating a stronger, healthier community. This podcast is just a small part of what we are doing at the Athletes Health. We work directly with teams, coaches, and individual athletes even to help them unlock their full mental performance and ultimately overall performance. Now, whether that's getting the competitive edge, breaking through mental blocks, or just leveling up in the mental gym, we're trying to cover it all with people. So thank you for listening and supporting our mission. Now let's get right back to the show. Tip number 3 is master your phone. Here we go. Our phones are super powerful. Okay, I use my phone for so many things, so many business things nowadays, and everything else that makes it such a powerful tool, a supercomputer in our pockets. With that, they are incredibly distracting. These mini supercomputers in our pockets pull our attention away from what really matters. If it's social media, text, emails, a buzzing phone, it will break our concentration fast. I know I've recently learned if I'm trying to work on some stuff, I need to block out the time and the phone will not be there. It's not actually time for texts, for emails. So if you text me and I don't respond for a while, and even if you double text me, I might respond. But if you text me and I don't respond for a while, it's because I'm using tip number 3 of mastering my phone. And the trick here is the phone lockdown mode, because it is incredibly important to lock it away, just like any evil villain in any movie we've ever watched. Tools here. Put that phone in another room if you have to, okay? Put it in the garage. If you are not that addicted to it, turn it on D&D, do not disturb mode when you're working on those high focus tasks. Push it to the side. Have a friend pull it from you. The one thing about usually at sports practices is we don't have our phones, so that's pretty nice. But at all the other times, then we have it. The other thing that we can do is set specific time limits to really manage the phone use and prevent that endless scrolling. If you did not know, you can set timers per app on the setting, at least in iPhones. You can do this. So then after X amount of time, I have mine for 15 minutes. It tells you, it locks the app out and you have to click a few buttons to get back on the app. So it's just another little idea for you. Because two quick stories here. I heard someone talking about how the innovation or scaling of big cities have gone down, or subways, like transportation. It hasn't really leveled up, right? Where in the big cities, trains are still being used, the same trains, subways that were used in, I don't know the exact dates, but a good chunk of time ago, right? And they made a good point. They were thinking, well, everyone is sitting just on their phones and locked into that space instead of looking around and seeing what to improve. Now think about that. You're so distracted by everything else out on the phone versus just what is around you and what you can make better, how you can live that better life. Another example is a sprinter preparing for a race. They may turn off their phone like an hour before the competition. They might just throw it in their bag and they're not going to check it maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. You talk to some of your friends, if you have any, who are in these spaces. This way they ensure they are focused for that pre-race routine, or that routine that they have before they're going to compete, before they're going to perform. They block out these distractions for these crucial moments to help them mentally prepare for their peak performance. So why would we not do that for other instances we have, other times that we have? I'll leave you with that thought. Tip number 3, master your phone. Trick name, phone lockdown mode. The tools, leave it in another room if you have to. D&D, set some timers on the apps, whatever you need so you don't get stuck in the scroll session. Tip number 4 is control what you can control. And that's kind of simple, control what you can, but I promise you there's more to it than what we think. I throw this around quite a lot actually, but for this episode, I really kind of took a more deeper initiative drive into it. So we try to control everything, right? And if we do try to control everything, all of a sudden we're really controlling nothing. So instead, we can focus on just mastering a few of the key aspects in the routine that are within our actual control. So it's a little different than the tip number 1 of the goal thing, because this is looking at what we can actually control. And there will definitely be certain things that we can control versus things we can't control. And the distractions become less and less powerful when we focus on just the small number of key things that you can actually influence. So if we know that item 1, item 2, item 3, or task, that those are actually what we can control, and everything else in the day, like, oh, it depends on this person, depends on that, depends on practice, those are more out of our control. So we could just focus on those 3 points of control. Or, for the trick name of this, the 2-point control. We can identify the tools for this, 2 specific areas that you have full control. And tying this more into the mental game, we're going a bucket inside the distraction bucket here, is your attitude, your preparation. These are 2 things that we can deliberately focus on, work on to control. Those are things we have full control on because it is solely us. With this, we can let go of the need to control everything else and really channel that energy into the controllable elements, your attitude, your preparation. A lot more of that mental game stuff, because that mental game stuff is all up here. There's not a lot of other things, but it's up here. And there are other things that can affect it, right? Not knocking that. So a quick story for tip number 4 here is, an athlete, you can't control the weather. Although, I think maybe we're getting to it. I don't know though. But you can control your warm-up routine. Okay? You know what the weather's going to be like. If this is for an outside sport, so you know how many layers you need, you know how much water you need, how many electrolytes you need, how much food you need beforehand. Those are in your control. They tie to that warm-up routine. They don't tie to the weather. They tie into what you can do and focusing on your actual control. It reduces all that mental clutter, right? Feel like there's papers all over the desk that's in your head. When you just select out, all right, this paper, those are the ones I need. Put all the other papers in a folder, not my problem. All of a sudden, all those external distractions are gone. That is why we can use tip number 4, control what you can, with the trick, the 2-point control, to find the areas that you have full control. A lot of those are yours, that are solely on you and solely in your head, and let go of everything else. Lastly here, tip 5 is block out opinions, because one of the sneakiest distractions is worrying about what other people think. And trust me, I've done this one a lot. I still do it quite a lot, but it is saved the best for last, quite possibly on this one, because often we let imagined judgments or opinions of others distract our decisions. Now, these distractions are invisible, but they also have a good chance to be imaginary, and they hold us back from fully committing to our goals. So think about this. When was the last time you thought someone was thinking something about you, but you did not talk to them about it at all? And then maybe eventually, or maybe you just never went and talked to them, but maybe eventually you talk to them, or you talk to someone else who talked to them, and word spread, and you're like, oh, dude, we weren't thinking that at all. No, I mean, you're cool. Yeah, we're good. Like, I wasn't thinking that at all. You're like, wow, that's crazy. I did not think that at all. And that is why it's such a sneaky distraction, because we're worrying about what other people think. It's not in our control instead, and it's often not even real. So a trick here is a tunnel vision mantra. I used to not be as much of a fan for the mantra stuff as I was doing all this mental performance stuff and preparing it, helping people out. But after talking to a few more people about it, I've had a little bit of a different perspective on the mantra stuff. And I am definitely a fan on it. To each their own, right? It helps some people more than others. But what I mean by this is just a quick, focused saying that locks you in, like tunnel vision, block out the noise when you're really feeling distracted by others' opinions. Now, this saying could be so many different things. Maybe you have different sayings. Maybe it's people actually are talking trash about you, because that happens in our sports world so much. Maybe you say something that we won't repeat on this podcast to yourself to get yourself fueled, fired up. All right. There's so many different ways that we can take quick mantras, whatever relates to us. And there's so many different examples, because it comes back to kind of your history, your behavior, and what really drives you. But for one decision each day, this is kind of like a segue piece on it. Practice ignoring all those external inputs and trust your instincts. Just ignore what you're thinking other people are thinking about you. If you're doing the thing that you think you should do, that you know you should do, that you're being coached to do, and maybe other people think you're silly or whatever the case is, but if it's a proven track record and you know it will help you get to point B, aka your mountain goal, then do it. Okay, forget about those imaginary judgments. Get your tunnel vision mantra going and lock it in. So just to wrap this up with a quick story of tip 5 is that high achieving athletes often are bombarded by opinions of coaches, fans, social media. How many times do you scroll through X or anywhere else in the comments? They're like, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. I know some people who have quite a bit of following on media for good reasons, and they don't even have their DMs open because people just send so many, you should do this, you didn't do this and this during your game, and that's why you lost. And if you're not in that opinion, or if you're not in that spot, where does the history for you come from in providing the opinions? I don't know, that's just my thoughts on this. And so in reality, their success comes from they're just blocking out all that stuff, and they're doing what they've been doing to stay locked in and reach their goals. And hence, tip number 5, block out opinions. The trick name of a tunnel vision mantra. Tools, get your mantra going. A quick thing. Recently on the podcast with Kyle Kuhn, a Paralympian triathlete, he dropped a couple mantras that he always repeats, and that's kind of what got me over the edge on these mantras of like, all right, they're a real thing. And otherwise, each day, have a decision to just kind of try and ignore the input. Trust your instincts and not be distracted by everyone else. To recap today, we covered 5 key tips, tricks, and tools for dealing with the distractions and staying focused. I'm going to recap them here super fast, and then that'll be it for this deep dive episode. But tip number 1 was identify invisible distractions with the trick, the one goal locked in. Narrow down to a single task, and it really helps reduce the invisible distractions and boost the productivity. Tip number 2, embrace beneficial distractions, right? Rest and restore break, whether it's in the school, on the field, on the court, in the game even. Planned breaks are necessary to recharge your mind and keep your focus sharp. It's not just for that physical reset, it's for that mental reset. I don't know how many times, and this is just for me in like high school sports and whatnot, or even intramurals and everything else, or competitions. But in halftime, you reset mentally just as much physically for that rest. Tip number 3 was master your phone. Put it on phone lockdown mode. Controlling our phone reduces distractions and helps maintain focus. It is a distraction generator. That supercomputer, very good, also very bad. Control what you can control for tip number 4, 2-point control. Focus on what's within your control. Help eliminate unnecessary distractions. keep those going. Just have the two if that's what's best for you. And tip number 5, block out opinions. The tunnel vision mantra. Blocking out external opinions allow you to really focus on your own goals and make decisions with clarity. All in all, by using these strategies, I help you become better equipped to tackle the distractions head on and stay locked into what truly matters. Thank you for listening to this deep dive episode. As always, if you want to explore more tools and tricks, check out our coaching services. But see you next time on the Athlete's Health Podcast.